What's up, guys? Welcome back to Avengers. So, since the last video on Eleanor, I've gotten a bunch done. So, we've actually got after getting the engine in the car, we actually got the charge piping on. We've got, we got pretty much the whole thing together. And I'm sorry I didn't get to show you all. I was just in a big hurry. I ran into some issues. I'll tell you about that stuff later. And then we got it all set up. And basically, the whole engine is in. Everything's set up, and it is starting and running. It is actually running now. I'll show you that in a little bit. But basically, we're all ready to go. Let me talk about some of the problems I had and what we're actually going to be doing today, which is going to be kind of cleaning up some of those issues to get them ready to go on the dyno at least, and then later for permanent repair. So, yeah, let's get into it here. Okay, so here she is in all her glory. I'll take that out of the way. Here she is in all her glory. Looks really good with that valve cover and that turbo in there. Basically, charge piping and distributor and everything all in there. We're all good to go here. What you might not be able to see in the video, here we go. Right here, we got this wire that is currently running over here into the door, and that goes to my ECU. Basically, so I had an issue where the signal wire that tells the distributor when to actually fire a cylinder had actually broken, and so we basically just ran our own from that wire and just made our own line. I'm going to be running that actually through the firewall to get it in. Let's see, what else do I got to do today? There's the intercooler. I do need to do some wiring. I've got my electronic boost controller. I actually just have it mounted down here right now. And it is currently not running anywhere, so I'll probably run him inside. And we made some changes with the water meth that I would like to address and work on as well, so I'll probably do some of that also. It's the wiring for the water meth. So stuff that I need to get ready. Basically next week I'm going to be out and unavailable to work on this car, and then we've got the weekend after, and we'll be doing some tuning, and the weekend after that we'll be going to the dyno. So things are happening pretty quick, and I don't have a lot of time, so let's get into it. Basically, I've got a spot where my deck can runs through. My engine harness actually doesn't go in underneath the battery like it used to. I've actually got that blocked off, like with body filler and stuff. It actually goes in back behind the intake, so I can't just run this wire back through with that. Not easily anyway, so I'm just going to run it through this hole for now. And like I said, later I'm going to be replacing the harness, so I'll just deal with that when the time comes. Alright, let me grab a drink and I'll come back, sit down, and we're going to have a discussion. Hang on. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about what kind of issues I was running into with this car, just trying to get it to the point of starting it. Basically, I was filming a video of just like the first startup, and it kind of failed miserably. I couldn't get it to start. Basically, what was happening is, whenever I'd go to turn the key, this is what I'd hear. Clunk. Turn it again. Clunk. Basically, it just it wouldn't turn over. The starter would not turn the engine over. Kind of from the first day that we built that engine, which I put that bottom end together like a year and a half ago. Put it together a long time ago. And I don't really remember much of it, but I do remember feeling I was building another engine with a very similar rotating assembly at the same time, and I noticed there being a bit of a difference between the two. So I didn't really think much of it at the time. I didn't think it was a real problem. But then as I was getting closer to getting the engine done and stuff, I realized how hard it was to turn that engine over, and even by hand, how hard it is to turn the engine over. It just didn't feel right, but it's never struck me. I should have stopped and said, look, there's a problem here, and figure it out. But I just kept going, saying, no, it's not a big deal, it's this is the issue, or no, that's the issue, so I'm not worried about it. Mostly concerning with like the piston rings or something like that being the problem. Well, I was like, whatever, then it's fine, it'll work. And so I just kept putting it off and saying it was fine. Obviously got the engine into the car and everything. Come to find out, no, it's not fine. The engine won't turn over. So me and Aaron came out. I took a day off work. Me and Aaron came out here and we pulled the engine out, took it apart, and we found that one of the bearings was obviously scored and the coating was off. The engine had never ran. The coating should still be on there in comparison to all the other ones. The coating is still there. So obviously there's an issue right there. Something with that bearing is wrong. Whether it was the bearing itself or whether it was the crank out of round or the rod out of round, something like that. So my buddy James, who's going to be tuning the car, he came over. He bought some like really fancy micrometers and bore gauges and stuff. So what we did was we measured out the crank. It wasn't out of round. We measured the rod. Come to find out, it was in fact out of round by quite a bit. So that rod being out of round caused it to be too tight on the crank, making it too hard to turn over. And it's a good thing we caught it now before we ran it, because it would obviously just destroy that bearing. But you know, it is what it is. So this weekend on Friday, when we measured it out, so the rods that I was running, so the rods that were in it were FJ rods, like true FJ rods, custom length for Vitaras. And James is actually the one who sold them to me, naturally. He sells me garbage. So to figure out what I needed to do in order to get this engine running was that, try to find a machine shop that's open on a Saturday, which is apparently impossible around here, or find a different set of rods to run. And Aaron actually had an extra set of Eagle rods laying around that are not custom length, so I was kind of bummed about it, but I was like, well, I'm going to use those. I'll just pay Aaron later and just run those rods. It's basically the quickest, easiest way to get the engine back together. The problem is that it drops my compression. The original compression with the custom length rod would have been like 9.5 to 1 or so. That's a 75.5 millimeter bore Vitara. It's a D16Y8 head with Fiera flat face valves. So the head's been decked like about, I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it's been decked quite a bit. So it would have been about 9.5 to 1 compression with the custom length. It brought it down to about 8.25, 8.5, somewhere in there. Which I just decided it's just not enough for me to worry about. 8.25. But between the two, 1 point of compression is not going to be enough to really notice. Might be a little bit more sluggish out of boost, but let's be honest, I don't really drive out of boost very often anyway. So basically, we threw it together with the Eagle rods. A little bit lower compression, but that's all right. Put it all together. Got the engine in on Saturday. James finished tuning on Aaron's car on Frosty. You guys saw a couple videos on that. Saw a video at least on that. So James finished tuning him up, getting to have him ready for the dyno anyway, and then we started working on my car, and that's whenever we had some more issues trying to start the engine. Spent about 3 hours or so diagnosing it. We knew it was somewhere in the distributor, but come to find out it was somewhere in the harness and the engine harness to send that signal to the distributor. So we eventually found it, got the car started, and we celebrated and then went to bed. So together, naturally. But we'll get it started up, and I'll show it to you guys. starting. Good. We'll go from there later. So that's where we're at right now. Like I said, I got some more work to do. I'm gonna go ahead and do that probably off camera just to keep from boring you with the wires and stuff. I'll have a lot more wiring videos coming up pretty soon actually after I get it tuned. I've got a lot of wires to clean up in the cabin. So I'll be filming a lot of that. Just wanted to give you guys an update at where we're at, and I don't know, apologize for not filming everything that I've been doing. I just haven't had time. This one's been busy. So one of the things you guys can do is you can check out my Instagram. I usually post things ahead of time in there, so you'll see a sneak peek as to what the next video might be about, because stuff that doesn't necessarily make it to the videos, or stuff that's going to be in a video but just maybe a week or two later, usually ends up on there. It's just wrench_Avengers. I have it there at the end of the video, so you can check that out, follow that. So yeah, stay tuned for the next one, guys. Just want to say thanks for checking out the video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked this video. Give it a thumbs down if you disliked it. Leave a comment or subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot, guys.